Hello. The Luke in the center there has just drank invisibility potion.
I'm right here.
You're right here.
Hello.
There you are. Hello, Luke.
I was away for getting water.
Yes, a likely story.
It's good,
and
good to have water.
Yeah.
Hi.
So please introduce yourselves. Tell us who, and Penelope first. Penelope gets introduced first because she can't speak for herself.
So she's my dog. She's 6 years old. So a pretty old dog. Not that old, but
just middle-aged.
Yeah, just right in the middle of her lifespan. Here, Rosemary, welcome. And she's joy in my life. Bring me a lot of joy. Me and many other people around me.
So how about Luke? Who is Luke?
Luke is the Catholic guy. That's who Luke is. Like you know, that I think we are 2 or 3 of us. Yeah.
I think there's a few more than that, but some have left.
It means that they're not active anymore. So
yeah,
a Catholic guy.
Tolerance for us atheists.
And but the others are Christians or other religions. What I mean is that what I mean? Like other religions or other kind of Christians. Is that what I mean? I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Nate. Who are you?
Yeah, I'm Nate. I have a fledgling channel called Navigate with Nate that I started I don't know, a month and a half ago, something like that. So kind of new to the scene. I've been paying attention to street epistemology for a couple of years now, but just now recently started getting involved with actually going out and interviewing people. I got started with the new content creators meeting that Mark Solomon has been putting on. I don't know when the last one was. Did I miss one? Or anyway, there might be another one coming up.
Mark is on vacation in Iceland.
Oh, okay, cool. So
I'm expecting there to be a couple week gap, a couple more week gap than usual.
Yeah. So, but those will probably be starting back up again. So if you too would be interested in getting started with street epistemology, I'd really highly recommend attending those meetings. Kind of give me the kick in the pants to get started. So I've got a channel. It's called Navigate with Nate, and I've only got about 4 or 5 interviews on there right now. I've been trying to get out here again recently, but the weather hasn't been cooperating with me very well. I need to find an indoor alternative. Got to work on that. So I'm a bit of a newbie, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. So,
which city will you find us? I will find you.
Which city will you find me? I'm in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
I have no idea where it is. I'm
second largest city in Indiana. Oh yeah, well then don't worry about it. It's in the Midwest somewhere. So
okay. Is it hot over there right now?
No, it's only like high was only like 60 today. Maybe got to 60, which is a little not that unusual. 60 Fahrenheit. What that is Celsius is 17 maybe. I don't know.
68 is 20.
20. That's
68 is 20. Yeah, so it's probably about 17, 18. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I think in Celsius, because I learned all my engineering physics in metric, and so I'm insufferably metric, even though I live in an imperialist world.
I am a science teacher, so I love metric. I love those SI units. Except for temperature for weather. I do like Fahrenheit for that. So it's useful for that. Everything else, I would be happy to get rid of, miles and inches and all that garbage. So
yeah. Meters all the way, baby.
Yeah, meters are better.
Gotta love me some meters.
What's this
story
Dali, about this?
Go ahead, you both.
This thing that was that crashed because of this distance conversion.
Yes. There was a conversion problem. Mars. I'm not remembering.
I think it's a fake news kind of urban myth I think I read that somewhere, and I was like, yeah, who do I trust? Like these sources that gave me the fake news kind of thing, or all the other sources that gave me the news that it wasn't. But yeah, anyway, it made it plausible that it was indeed not an error from conversion.
Fahrenheit was calibrated based upon the coldest temperature they could reliably produce in a laboratory, which was ice salted down to a maximum of 0 degrees Fahrenheit. And then boiling at 212 meant that the average human body temperature was very close to the 100 number. So they figured the coldest to the warmest thing that people would experience in Europe was bodies and salted ice. And that's where the Fahrenheit scale came from.
Which is why it's good for weather.
Yeah, Celsius is on water that's fresh water boiling to at normal
at sea level.
At sea level pressure, yes.
Yeah.
You know, but sea level centric, I can go with that one more. Yeah, and I'm a font of all sorts of nonsense, pedantic information, and that's not what the show's about, but I'm happy to address such questions.
Yeah. Well, Dali, I guess you can introduce yourself if you feel like it's necessary, although I imagine most people know who you are, but some people might not, so...
You're a celebrity.
Maybe not. My link's down in the description. I have a channel, Juggling Lessons, that I started broadcasting in July of 22. And I've resumed now, and I think I released something like 7 videos from the September 21st thing, and yeah, so I've got several going on. These days, I'm getting to do a lot of Spectrum SE at UCLA with Reed Nicewander of Cordial Curiosity, which is a real treat. So that's fun. I also do live streams on my own channel that pretty much with anybody as long as they're willing to do SE about it. Bring it.
Dali's been cranking out the hashtag content here recently. So
yeah, the hashtag content. Smack. Yeah, indeed. Okay, so we're looking for callers. Anybody call in, bring whatever you'd like to bring, talk to us about whatever you'd like, and we will try to make it SE-like, demonstrations of SE, that kind of thing. Luke was willing to bring, we have 3 different claims. Should I roll dice?
Roll the dice out of the 3. I guess when you say it one out loud, the guy usually says, "Oh, not that one. Maybe the next one."
Who would like to bring a claim so that I can tell which of these we might want to talk about?
Before we do that, real quick, is the link pinned in the chat? I know that it's in the chat on YouTube.
I don't think it's pinned. Okay. Because I've had trouble if I switch over to the other account. My YouTube loses its little mind.
Okay. So we might need to... It's in the chat right now. You can find it. And if you scroll up, you can find it. We might just have to repost it occasionally.
So. I'll post it occasionally. Yes.
Cool.
Okay. So Donald Trump treason. Consciousness is a continuum, and it's unreasonable to choose to become an atheist. Okay. Let's see. Does anybody in the comments think that any of those are the best? They would like to hear those the most.
Let's vote. That's a good idea.
Yeah, there you go. Hold the audience.
So you saw the ones I suppose I could. If I switch over to set up a poll again, that's I'm gonna risk it. I feel lucky and dangerous today.
Are you feeling lucky?
So that's claim number 1. Claim number 2 is this one. Consciousness exists on a continuum. And claim number 3 is that Donald Trump is guilty of treason against the United States. So we've got a religion, maybe philosophy / science, and a political. So if any of those fields are more interesting to you.
Are you making the
I'm making a
vote?
poll right
A
quick
poll?
with those
Yeah.
3, and
Or if someone wants to join in, they can also click on the link on the
Yeah, well,
StreamYard link. It's supposed to be in the chat, right? The StreamYard link. And is it in the comments? I'm not sure.
and
About
there's the
this,
poll.
The poll is up.
I'm not nearly as fast at the typing, I suppose. I hear Sasha saying number 2, consciousness on a continuum. I hear Thomas say we should claim that the puppy's cute.
Yeah.
No, that's not.
That's not the claim.
Facebook chat poll? Oh, is that
Good-
the case? Is it a Facebook?
Good luck. Facebook. Did I say Facebook?
I read.
Oh my
Who's claiming
word!
the Facebook chat poll? That's YouTube that I know about. So.
Wow. Okay, I didn't get enough sleep last night. That's not.
That's why.
You're not getting enough sleep tonight either.
I know I'm not. Last night my 1.5-year-old woke up like 4 or 5 times screaming in the middle of the night, and I'm like, I volunteered to do a call-in show at 10 p.m. tomorrow night. What am I doing? So if my brain at all farts out like it just did, calling YouTube, Facebook.
Oh, it'll be more entertaining that way.
Yeah.
I want us to tune for at least 3% loss due to entertaining failures.
Let me see. Is there answers?
Aha, yes. We have 4 votes, and Luke, we would like to talk about yours.
Okay.
It is unreasonable to choose to be an atheist. All right. Is this a Nate or is this a me, or is it a both?
You Nate, do you want to explore that one, or if you're not strong enough, maybe both of you would be cool? I lost you, Nate.
There we go. Sorry. I can take it, and then if Dali wants to jump in if I get lost, that'll be fine.
Sure.
So just do something like like this.
Sure.
And then he'll be like, "Oh, I think it's a sign." Oh, there you go. Whoa. Oh, everybody, the other one.
Just us. We're in the Thunderdome.
Yeah, thank you.
That's better. I like this better.
Yeah. I was like, ooh, too close. Let me back
face
up.
isn't quite so big. Yeah. All right, cool. Okay, Luke. So it is unreasonable to choose to be an atheist is the claim. So I guess first of all, we probably want to get down some terms here. So first of all, atheist, that can mean different things to different people. So when you are using that word, what do you mean by it?
So the idea I have with that word, words are ways to convey idea. And the idea that I want to convey with the word atheist here is those who claim that they are not sure there is a God. So more like, how do you call? Sorry, I don't remember the name.
Like an agnostic atheist?
Agnostic kind of atheist, yeah.
So,
not those who claim, I'm sure there is no God. No, those are another kind of unreasonable. They are still unreasonable, but I'm more thinking of those that are more reasonable than the others, right? Those who say, I am missing something tangible to acknowledge that there is a God.
Gotcha. And would that maybe that term still include those other people who are more confident?
Those who claim that I'm sure, and I have proved that there is no God. Those are more unreasonable than the other.
But everybody's under the same blanket term for right now for your claim that you're making. Okay. And so it is unreasonable to choose to be an atheist. I think that might be the first thing that we want to talk about. Maybe we can hold off on the unreasonable and we can talk about what that means exactly. But to choose to be an atheist, I guess maybe I'd like to get your confidence on that first. What is your confidence that people choose to, let me try to use your words, not be convinced that a God exists? Would that be fair that you're saying that that people are choosing to not be convinced?
Yeah.
Okay. So how confident do you feel that that is something people do, that they choose to not be convinced?
It's a 90+%. So 92, let's say.
Okay.
Just for fun.
92% sure that people do that there are atheists who exist who choose to not be convinced that God exists. Okay. What is your main reason for thinking that that is true of at least some atheists?
So they have presentation made to them, and the first time they have to make the choice, they need two things that are presented to them. One is there is a creator. The other one is, well, there is no creator, right? That's the two choices that is presented the first time you hear about God. And when you choose there is no creator, it is unreasonable to choose that with only those two things. And when the things that are presented add on, there are things indeed that are presented that are unreasonable to choose, like the shape of the earth being flat, this kind of thing, but or the earth being 6,000 years old. So we have those claims that are unreasonable to choose to be true. Or like you say, okay, it might be true or untrue, let me check, or let me weight it and make a choice, is it true or false? But it comes a time where some people ask you, well, what did you choose with all the information or the knowledge that you acquired, all that you know about God? Do you think that there is a God? And when you say, I choose, well, that there, I don't know.
Okay, so are you?
I don't know. I don't have enough evidence. That's a different thing.
Okay, so it kind of sounds like you're saying that. Let me just see if I'm understanding you right. Are you saying that if given enough information, people should make one of those two choices between, like, option A, there is a creator, option B, there is not a creator, and that if you have enough information, you should be able to make that choice. And so that's why it's unreasonable to not make the decision and to be at the kind of unconvinced.
Yeah.
Am I picking you up right there?
Yes, that's correct. So
Okay.
I'm thinking of a coffee cup instead of creator. I bring up the coffee cup. So somebody claimed there is a coffee cup in front of me. I say, okay, need proof. Okay, there it is. And no, I'm not convinced, right? So you can bring more information about, yeah, there are things that we call coffee cups, and that's what they look like, or they can look like this, and those kind of arguments to support the claim that there is a coffee cup, and and explain the person how a camera works and those kind of thing. And then if the person with all this evidence still hold the claim, I'm not convinced there is a coffee cup, I'm saying that they are unreasonable. So that's a similar thing that happens to atheists.
All right. I just want to kind of make sure I'm understanding this coffee cup analogy sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Is the amount of information somebody needs to make the decision on the coffee cup similar to the amount of information somebody needs to make the decision on the belief in a creator? Or are those different amounts of information somebody needs to make a responsible decision?
So it depends on who you're asking, right? Some people would say, well, I need more evidence for a coffee cup than God, or
okay. Well, I'm asking, I'm asking you. What do you think? Right.
I need. Yeah, it's more evidence for God than a coffee cup.
Okay, and why do you think that is? Could you just articulate a little bit?
Because of the different interpretation of who God is. So because of the if people say, okay, if too many people didn't agree that this was a coffee cup, they say, well, it's a teacup, it's not a coffee cup, and those kind of thing, like there are too many people that are disagreeing on what this is. So that happens to God, therefore it is harder for me to make this choice of it's more evidence that this is really the case, that God is really the case, because there are many people with opposing claim. That's what I was looking for. Opposing claim on the same subject.
Okay.
Right.
So,
yeah.
maybe if it was in a different world where there was a lot of ambiguity about what a coffee cup is, and what is coffee, and do cups even exist, then it might be different, right?
Yay. Open to suggestion.
Okay. So just to clarify, part of what makes it sounds like part of what's underlying this, calibration of how much information somebody needs is kind of a societal understanding of the topic. Is that kind of fair? Like maybe we don't as a species or as a society have as much information about God as we do on coffee cups.
I think we have more.
Okay, I think we have more. So that's not
yes,
really
we have more about God than coffee cup, because of the amount of people that are trying to present evidence for God.
Okay, so we have
the amount of people trying.
We maybe have too much because it's conflicting, whereas
that's it.
Whereas for the most part, people are agreed about coffee cups.
Yeah, they are raised. All people are raised, and this is what in English we call a cup and coffee and whatnot. Like words to convey idea, and the idea conveyed by coffee cup is something that looks like this.
Okay.
So yeah, God is different.
Okay, I think I kind of understand where you're coming from with this idea of choosing making a choice between options based on the information you have, and you're kind of saying that it's unreasonable to choose to, I don't know, maybe stay on the fence or something on. Maybe I should be in bed too.
That's okay. No, that's cool. Yeah, that's what I mean. You understood correctly what I mean.
Okay. So then I guess I think you said something, and maybe I misunderstood what you were referring to, but maybe where you were saying it might depend on the person or something like that. Do you think different people have like a different threshold of evidence or information that they need before they would make a decision?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I know of some people that needs to hold the coffee cup. They would go up to the point of saying that it's stage and that's not really me, and there is no such thing that's a coffee cup in your room right now, and you are just CGI.
Okay, and then I guess this comes back to the first part of it, and so we can talk about the word unreasonable then. So would you characterize those people in regards to the coffee cup as being unreasonable if they need to hold the coffee cup, or might they be reasonable depending on their own personal information and requirements?
Would hold the position that there is not a coffee cup in front of me would be unreasonable. Yeah.
Okay. What if somebody said, I'm not sure if there's a coffee cup in front of you? Would they be unreasonable too?
If they are not able to answer the question, but would convince you there is a coffee cup in front of you.
Okay, so maybe that's interesting. Let me hold on to that before I lose it. So you said if they are not able to answer the question, what could convince you? Okay, so switching from the coffee cup analogy back to the actual topic. If somebody were to say, "Oh, there's Vincent. Hi, Vince. Hi, buddy. Hey, can you say hi?"
He's cuter than my dog.
I can't hear.
Yeah, you can't hear him because he's on my headphones. But you need to get back in bed, okay? But you can say hi.
Hi.
All right. Before I lose track of what I was thinking about. All right. Good night, buddy. I love you. Go back and get in bed. Good night. All right. You got your dog.
Is the question.
Children are always welcome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, Dali. Okay, so before I lose it, I think I had it. So if there was somebody who said, I've been presented evidence on the God question, but I don't have enough information to say one way or the other. I'm not willing to say there is no creator, but I'm not willing to say that there is one. Now, let me just make sure this is right. If they couldn't identify information that could convince them, then they would be unreasonable.
Correct.
But I think what I'm hearing you say is if they had markers or evidence or could identify things that would convince them that they just don't know yet or haven't seen yet, those people would be reasonable, even though they would be maybe choosing to be an atheist. So is that one exception where somebody could choose to be an atheist in your terms,
So,
or refuse to
that's-
make the decision, and they would still be reasonable, or would they not be reasonable at that point?
They would say, I don't know, and they didn't choose the atheist position, right? They would be, okay, make sure that this is the case. The thing that would convince them is indeed what happens when they test it out, and
Okay.
yeah, and make sure that the thing that would convince them is something that is realistic. So I'm thinking of again this coffee cup, and somebody says, I will be convinced there is a coffee cup if there is a pink elephant in my room
That's a bit of a non
appearing in her room. I would be like, yeah, you have a reason why you will be convinced there is a coffee cup, and as long as there is no pink elephant in the room, I won't be convinced there is a coffee cup. But yeah, you're unreasonable. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, we'd maybe have to evaluate their reasons and the logic and the epistemology behind that. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
But you said earlier they didn't choose the atheist position. Now, earlier you said that somebody who was unconvinced either way would still be considered an atheist, right? Are you?
Yeah. So atheist is the thing under the atheist is the ones that doubt also. Those who say, I'm not convinced of God for many years. It's not like he heard about it yesterday. You know what I mean? It's something that he heard about years ago, right? I'm not talking about somebody, I don't know, in the jungle somewhere that you talk about God and say, I'm not convinced. Those are not unreasonable. It is reasonable. They are missing some information of what even God means. What do you mean by the word God and that kind of thing? But when you're in English and you have education, you're educated, you know what God means. You have this kind of tool, the dictionary, that allows you to convey the idea of God. And when you say, I'm not convinced about God, and usually, that's where you are mistaken when you say, I'm not convinced. When you say, I don't know, because I'm looking for it, I'm looking for information, right? It's a different thing. Like, I mean, in the process of making sure that I make the correct choice about the truth.
Okay.
The truth,
so you see those as two different positions, saying I'm not convinced, but also you're saying that's different than saying I don't know. Could somebody say both of those things or not?
Can someone say I'm not convinced and say I don't know?
Yeah, like for example, let's say we have so somebody could
I think
we could imagine
but it would be working on eggshells, like it's a lot of things that haven't taken into consideration. When I mean, it doesn't really matter. That's what I mean. So yes, the answer is yes to your question, but doesn't really matter in this claim here.
Okay, I'm trying to kind of understand where you draw the line at unreasonable, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because I think I kind of understand.
In the room. That's where I draw the line.
That's definitely unreasonable. I feel like the line might be lower than that.
Yeah. Like if someone were to say there is a coffee cup in front of you, I claim there is a coffee cup, and someone was to say, I won't believe you until I come to your place and touch the coffee cup, I would say, okay, that's unreasonable when it comes to a coffee cup, right? Okay. If there is a claim about invisible unicorn, I would say, well, it's less unreasonable to ask for him to come here and touch the unicorn. But something more reasonable would be for him to ask me to throw the coffee cup at the unicorn and
Okay.
let me see it bounce, So
Okay, I'm curious. I do want to explore this idea of the coffee cup and the unicorn, because this kind of comes back to a kind of a classic thought experiment, or an people call them Ferrari tests or dragon tests or unicorn tests or whatever. What is the difference between the coffee cup and the unicorn? You said that it's unreasonable to want to come hold the coffee cup in order to be convinced the coffee cup exists. But you said it's not unreasonable to want to come maybe touch the unicorn. Why the disparity there? I'm not saying there shouldn't be one. I just want to know your reasoning for why they're different. Why are they different?
Coffee cups are more common than
Okay.
Coffee
cups are more common than unicorns.
Unicorn.
Okay.
Invisible unicorns.
Invisible unicorns. Yes, I've had
because unicorns. I've seen so many of them, but the invisible one, I haven't seen them ever.
Yeah,
about invisibility.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever see an invisible unicorn.
Yeah, you will never see, but you know they are there.
Definitional. Yeah. That comes back to knowledge, and that could be a whole nother rabbit trail. We won't go down it. Okay, so let's say somebody says, I don't know if there's a God or not, but if I had an experience of God, some sort of miracle maybe, or maybe some sort of vision, possibly, that might convince me. What if they said that? Would that be reasonable or unreasonable?
Unreasonable.
Why?
I failed the Yeah, you're not the first one asking this. So on the subject, why is it unreasonable to ask for a miracle? Is because you have this kind of knowledge, I hope, when you ask for it, that miracles are events that are really rare, that are uncommon events. So when you say, I need to be the recipient of miracles, that would be unreasonable.
But the unicorns are rare, right?
Yes.
Earlier you said, I'm not trying to trap you. I just want to see if this is consistent or not. Earlier you said that somebody who said, I won't believe there's a unicorn until I come over and touch it. You said that was reasonable because the unicorns are rare.
Yeah.
You said because unicorns are rare, it's reasonable to have require more evidence for the unicorn because it's rare, as opposed to the coffee cup, right?
Yeah, so it would still be, if I were to throw my cup of coffee cup at the unicorn and the thing bounced back without any reason beside the invisible unicorn. Let me type this because I need a visible unicorn.
Maybe we don't want to. I don't know. Throwing the coffee cup at the unicorn, I think might be combining two things. And
yeah. Is it really a coffee cup? Is it really a unicorn? Oh, come on! How can we know?
Really? You're multiplying the uncertainty. I think your statistics or something. Okay, so let's just say earlier. Let's walk through it real quick.
The thing is possible. So even some claim, the Catholic Church at least claim that you can touch God. So if touching is something that is needed for you, you can go to church and on every day and touch God, which is the one in the host. So there is something that you can do that are still not enough, because it is not what would convince you. So when someone says, for me to be convinced there is a unicorn, the only thing that would convince me that is that I would be able to touch it, I would say, well, it's not reasonable because, well, there are so many people around me being able to touch the unicorn for you. So you should trust those people. So it depends on the context, you know what I mean? It's like it can become unreasonable when there are so many testimonies about the subject or the claim. Same thing with the coffee cup, right? So there are so many people giving testimonies of, yes, there is a coffee cup. I know Luke, and he's the owner of a coffee cup. This kind of thing are testimonies of people.
Okay,
That
so
makes you
interesting.
or even
maybe not unicorns, but similar mythical beasts. Let's just maybe mythical beasts, I guess. Let's be fair.
Yeah, they might.
Do you think that if somebody said, I will not believe in Bigfoot unless I can experience Bigfoot, until that point where I get to experience Bigfoot, I'm not going to be convinced. Is that person being reasonable or not, knowing that there are many people who have testimonies of Bigfoot?
Yeah,
you can find people, like thousands of people, who claim to have seen Bigfoot or found evidence of Bigfoot. Would it be reasonable or unreasonable to want that personal experience of Bigfoot in order to be convinced Bigfoot exists, or Sasquatch, or Yeti, or choose your name?
So it depends on the type of claim about Bigfoot. If Bigfoot is some kind of creature that lives in this wood and appears at that time of the night, or this kind of thing, it's not unreasonable. But if Bigfoot is the amalgam, it's like shit. What's the word in English?
Like a combination. Yeah, amalgam.
Combination. There you go. Yeah. Oh, you're good.
Yeah, so, we got that word. Amalgam's right. You're good. That's good. That's high level vocab. So
no worries. Bigfoot is a combination of all the different things Bigfoot are. One of the notorious thing Bigfoot is, one of the things that Bigfoot is notorious about is you not being able to touch it. There is not that many people that are able to touch Bigfoot. He scares. You can see it passing the woods. You can see the trace that he left, but touching Bigfoot would be unreasonable.
Okay.
In the lore of Bigfoot, nobody touched him. So you could ask to see traces of Bigfoot, kind of thing, and I would be convinced if I see traces of Bigfoot, depending on where you are, right? If you are in France, I would say like, oh, come on. Yes. Well, anyway, the thing with Bigfoot is the consequence in your life, right? So it doesn't really matter if it's something true or false, right? You could say to the person you talk to who claimed that there is a Bigfoot, and yes, Bigfoot, you say, okay, yes, why not? There is nothing engaging in my part. When it comes to God, there are things that are useful to you if you acknowledge the existence of God, right?
Okay.
So
do you think that's
why it's better?
Should that like potential usefulness affect how we go about determining if it's true? Like,
no, if it's reasonable or not. So the more useful something is, the more unreasonable it is easy to be, right? When you ask for proof for the thing, the more useful it is to you. It's case-to-case basis. In general, when you need a car to start, it is unreasonable to think that to check the engine before you turn the key on, right? You could ask for this evidence, but it is unreasonable because, well, it's a car. It will start when you turn the key, yeah. So it's a coffee cup, and you see on camera. That's it. Just stop. Let's go somewhere, because if you want to go somewhere with a car, that's a goal, and you check the engine every time, you will be late, right? So, yeah,
true. Yeah, that's fair. I guess I'm just not sure if they're really
is a goal.
If God is like a coffee cup, or if God is like a car, or if God is like a unicorn, or if God, the more we speak in analogies, the more I think I'm getting lost. I feel like I'm getting a little bit lost.
The same thing, because they don't have this kind of what would convince you thing. So usually those atheists I talk to and I ask what is missing, that's my question, but somebody point out that what I am really asking is what would convince you, right? Mm-hmm. So when I ask what is missing is to convince you, right?
Okay. So I'm gonna propose something and see if maybe we can modify the claim, because I think the original claim, we really had to spend a lot of time kind of breaking down what those terms meant, like how you were using choose, which we had to spend some time on that, and like what is atheist. So I'm gonna try to make a little type up a slightly different claim and see if this encapsulates kind of what you're saying, right? It is unreasonable to not believe in God without knowing what would convince you. Is this?
Nope.
Is that
because you could claim, I know what would convince me, pick elephant. That would be the thing that would convince me.
Okay, so
yeah.
Hold on. I shouldn't. I need to copy him. Hold on. Okay. Dali showed me a trick, but I forgot to do it. Okay. All right. See how you feel about this one. And okay, so it is unreasonable to not believe in God without having realistic, rational reasons that would convince you.
Yeah.
Does that? Okay. So let me just test this real quick and make sure that you do agree with this. So if somebody had realistic, rational reasons, they say, hey, I will believe in God if this realistic, rational piece of evidence or argument or thing happens, that person would then be reasonable. Is that true?
Yeah. Usually the thing that is presented is unreasonable, or is not realistic, or not rational, or not reasonable. That's the last one. So therefore, I make the claim it is unreasonable to choose to be an atheist.
But it might be possible that there could be atheists.
Yeah, I have yet to meet one.
Okay.
I've met one who claimed something about the Eucharist, the host in Mass, because I told him the same thing I told you earlier, where this is God, right? And I realized that he, at first glance, his test seems realistic, rational, and reasonable.
Okay.
But when you look deeper into it, it is not. Therefore, I'm still with this whole 92% confidence in my claim that it is unreasonable to choose to be an atheist.
So maybe you've got that 8% wiggle room because maybe there is this possibility. Do you think this is maybe what's keeping you from being higher up?
So in my life, the highest percentage I have are things that are my senses was able to react to. Like I was able to pick up with my senses. Those are the things that I do not doubt, or I doubt the least. Yeah, I doubt the least.
Okay.
So it's 98, right? So the existence of God for me, for example, is 98% sure there is a God, right? So these kind of claims where I am able to use my senses and reason also to come to the conclusion is 98. I still leave the 2% room for the brain in the jar argument kind of thing, right? I might never be able to know something 100% with 100% certainty.
Yeah.
So 92 is pretty high in my. It's like
pretty high,
100,
yeah.
but I can go up. I can be again more. The more atheists I talk to and they come up with claims of what would convince them, the higher I get. But yeah, it's not fair to put.
Okay, so it sounds like you're saying that the more atheists you talk to who don't seem to have realistic, rational markers that would convince them, that inches you up. Conversely, then, if you were to meet an atheist, maybe another one, maybe a few who seem to have realistic, rational reasons, that would maybe drop you down.
Oh yeah, way down. That would be really. Oh yeah, it would be about this claim of reasonability or being reasonable and in their choice. I would say, okay, those guys are reasonable because they know what would convince them, and the thing that would convince them is reasonable. Is a reasonable ask. You know, it's like the guy who wants me to show the coffee cup at the camera, right? He's reasonable to have doubt. He's a perfectly reasonable thing to ask me to move up the coffee cup and show it at the camera. I would be like, oh yeah, well, claiming that it is unreasonable to believe there is a coffee cup of me. Well, you understand what I mean. So yes, it would
exactly
bring
the
thing way down. The more atheist the more people I meet that claim to be atheist and have something that would convince them of it.
Okay. All right. So I think we've clarified the claim. Because I feel like I understand this claim better than the original one. So I think maybe that's a win for communication there. We talked about confidence. We've also identified what could move you up. We've identified what could move you down. And you still feel like you're probably around 92%, but you're willing to move either direction based on new information, basically conversations you would have. Now, of course, you can't really get inside somebody else's brain and you can't read their mind. That's one thing we don't have the ability to do, right? If I were to tell you something and, it's hard to tell if somebody might be 100%.
There is something else, like not me per se. Let's say a priest come to me and says, I've met with many atheists that had reasonable reasons, or rational reasons to not believe in God. So I would be okay. Let me hear like those reasons. I don't have to hear them from the. I would trust, like, because this priest would be someone I trust. I would trust that he wouldn't lie to me, and then I don't need to go. Like I don't.
Yeah, I can't think of a reason why a priest would lie to you about that. That seems like counter against.
I just thought as a reasonable reason. Like this kind of terrorist. I live in a country where I would be killed if I say I believe in God. That's a reasonable reason to say that you're an atheist, right?
Well, yeah, maybe to say it.
It is still a reasonable one.
Right. Maybe to say it. Maybe not to actually.
Yeah,
it, though,
to
right?
actually.
Yeah. There's a difference between. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, how do you think this went, Luc?
I like talking to you. I'm used with. That's why I picked you, right? Because I haven't yet had the choice of two people, and then I say, okay, let me try the one I haven't yet talked to or with, and
this is fun.
Interesting.
I think I got lost with all of our coffee cups and unicorns and Bigfoots at some point.
Invisible unicorns.
Yeah. Some of that got too many mixed analogies for me to follow, but I think we got there. I think we got there eventually. So that was fun.
Cool. Yeah, that came out different than some of the last times I've talked with Luc about that. I think we've searched through that one 2 or 3 times, some on video, a lot on practice.
Really? Oh,
that's a good fruitful one. It really gets people thinking about what good reasons they would accept.
Them.
Yeah. And I didn't want to dive into that actually. The good reason.
Yeah, because
that's a detail that I think isn't actually necessary for this claim at this point. No, but read once you go there. So.
Read once too. Come in, read. Have fun. Click on the link.
I'll soften my voice and say, for Luke, what's the best example of a realistic, rational reason to convince them? If I spoke too loudly, I was unreading.
No, that's okay. Yeah, to convince atheist. Is that the question? Yeah. Okay. It's personal. Like I said, some people would need to come and pick up my coffee cup, and that would be unreasonable. But I would say, well, you can come and pick up my coffee cup, and they would say, I don't need that, right? So yeah, about God, what would be a reasonable? It's. I don't think there is one for every atheist. I don't think there is one reason for every atheist. I think each atheist have their own history and knowledge about God, and it's curated on this knowledge of God, right? There is this knowledge of God I have about Zeus, where what would convince me would be this kind of offering where Zeus is able to smite people or smite something with thunder, right? That's a claim I have about Zeus, right? He can do that and on cue, almost on cue. So this kind of
so a 1 Kings 18 kind of thing. Lightning comes down from the sky and burns the stuff.
Yeah, well,
on command in time with some sort of a communication about it.
Yeah. So that would be I have this thing, and for someone else, it would be something completely different that would convince them. And
how would you respond to somebody who, let's say, a polytheist who believes in Zeus, hears what you say, and says, "Well, that's not a rational or reasonable reason, because you can't just expect Zeus to do miracles for you because miracles are rare. Zeus's miracles are rare."
Cool. So what can he do? What is the thing? What are the evidence for Zeus? Like, this person is a polytheist and have reasons to believe there is a Zeus. So I will have more knowledge on what makes Zeus for him, and what can Zeus do in interacting with the world today, and why is it Zeus and not nature or what else? So that would be that my what would convince me would be curated on his definition or her definition of Zeus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
so
fair.
How about we don't have to come up with evidence that would convince every atheist. Any reason that would be a good reason to lose your faith for some atheists. Are there any good reasons?
So you want to be a good person.
2 different conversations that have happened. So I sorry if I'm if the chat's getting in part of my thinking here.
That's okay. So being a better person, a good person, a better person, someone that is better than what he was yesterday is a good reason. Oh no, that would convince you. That's why would you take a God? Sorry, it's not what would convince you that there is a God. Oh, okay. So I have spoken to atheists about the subject, and most of them come up with the miracle thing. So something miraculous happened to me, or someone close to me. Those would be things that that would convince them, and are I would say the most reasonable thing to ask, right? So it's still unreasonable because of our knowledge of events like this are really rare, and asking for them is unreasonable. Like the president of the United States knocking on my door. It is something that is plausible. It is unlikely to happen. So, so this kind of thing, like, it is unreasonable to ask for a miracle in your life.
Let me
there
back
are
up.
miracles that happens, and they can observe those, and they, particularly those that are recognized by the Catholic Church.
Okay.
So
hold.
That's the most reasonable thing I heard from atheists. Sorry, Nate.
Okay. You said the most reasonable thing somebody could ask for would be like and you described
I
some
heard
sort of
from-
miracle, right? But then you said, but that still would be unreasonable. Is there
Correct.
anything that an atheist could want to learn or see or experience to convince them that would be reason? Can you think of something that
So
would be
they
reasonable?
say, I trust Luke, and Luke told me that there is a God.
Okay.
If Luke tells me there is a God, I will be convinced.
That would be
reasonable.
That would be reasonable to just believe you.
Because I'm a trustworthy person.
Okay. So
I
is
can't
the
help but feel like there's some bias here.
I am a trustworthy person, right? So yeah, testimony from a trustworthy source.
He's not
Basically,
saying
that's
it's
what I
knock
mean.
down settled reason. He's saying it's a reasonable thing to raise your confidence some.
Okay. So it wouldn't necessarily be convincing, though, but it would
It's
be
not right. It's not a dispositive in the legal sense. It's not something that proves the case or is uniquely indicative of the hypothesis. But it is something that might move your Bayesian probabilities.
So maybe we've got two different things here. Maybe we got a scale that goes from and at the bottom we've got not very reasonable to ask for, but maybe not very convincing. At the top, maybe we've got very convincing, but not reasonable to ask for. What would be the thing that would be like the most convincing that would still be reasonable to ask for? Is there somewhere in there that you can think of something that you think, hey, this would probably convince lots of atheists if they learned it, and it's also reasonable to ask for?
Yeah. So no. That's the answer. The answer to this question is no. There is none. That's why I have this 92% confidence in the claim that it is unreasonable to just to be an atheist. If I had such a thing, I wouldn't be able to claim. Well, I would have met an atheist with this kind of view, right? How do I come up with an idea that doesn't exist, right? So
well, we're trying to help you. We're trying to help you come up with it. So that's kind of what we're doing.
Enter the flying man.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
That's the person Luke trusts most said they saw someone fly over the Grand Canyon. Would Luke believe them? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, person I trust the most. Oh, that's. But the thing when it comes to the claim of the flying man, the person I trust the most is not the person I trust the most for other things, right?
Sure.
So,
but there is a person in the world, in your life, one or more persons, who would be enough of an expert and discerning enough that if they said they witnessed or they were convinced that you would take that on as a belief.
Correct. Okay. They wouldn't lie to me on that subject of.
I would believe they experienced something.
Of a flying man, something.
I would believe that they had an experience of the flying man, but I still would not.
Like your wife. Your wife comes to you and says, "I've been to the Grand Canyon. There was a guy flying," and you say, "Be careful, you're recorded." Would you trust your wife?
Okay. That's okay. My wife is an extremely logic-oriented person. She's like less touchy feeling than I am.
Okay.
So no, if my wife came and said, I saw somebody flying across the Grand Canyon, I would say, I believe you experienced something that you interpret to have been a human being flying across the Grand Canyon. That's what I would tell her.
So then she comes with arguments. I have a video of it, or I have my friend was there with me, and then she have many arguments. She pile up with arguments that
if there was more evidence, but just the person I trust the most testimony would not be enough to convince me that is actually what happened. It would have convinced me that she thinks that's what happened. Yeah. So we're a little different there, Luke. So
I'm sure, man. You'd be like, yeah, right. So and then move to something else, right? You will not be too okay. Tell me more, maybe tell me more. It would be interesting to know more about what happened.
No, I would definitely want to know more because I'd also want to know if my wife is like having a psychotic break and needs to go get some mental health help. You know, like I'd be worried about.
There's nobody
her.
in my life I would believe.
Yeah,
nobody.
No, there's nobody in my life that I would believe on one person's testimony something that that directly violates my paradigm of physics.
Right.
For me to accept something outside of my paradigm of physics would require a consensus of several independent experts that I was convinced were believing it for good reasons.
Physicists.
It might be physicists. It might be engineers.
Right. It could, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's ways an engineer could demonstrate to me that the physicist got it broken.
Right.
Yep.
There is something I just realized. If it was asked, do you believe that person? And if I'm wrong, I'm dead, right? The consequence of it, or I'm missing a hand. That's a consequence of being wrong on the Flying Man, right?
It's a binary choice. You either believe it or you don't, and if you don't, you come to physical harm.
Correct. No, these kind of consequences.
If he's wrong, yeah.
So it's a binary choice. You have to this or that, and if you're wrong, it's the tiger behind the door. Kind of.
If I'm wrong,
you have to choose the door. It's a tiger, or it's
this kind of thing. Yeah,
the good thing.
So one person would be. I don't know of a person that I would trust enough with my hand. Right. Okay. I would need more than one person, but if it is the claim of a Flying Man, yes, it's not that big of a claim, right? You know what I mean? It's like there's no consequence for me.
We haven't expanded the Flying Man died or flew for your sins, and this is the only way to eternal salvation. We haven't expanded the Flying Man to include that yet. We could. It's allowed.
Luke, it kind of sounds like what you're saying, and let me see if I'm understanding you here. That you're willing to be wrong. You don't really care if you're wrong about stuff if it's not very consequential to be wrong.
Yes.
But you don't be wrong if there are big consequences.
Correct. Most people are like that.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, when you say my car restart when I turn the knob, yes, you don't want to be wrong.
What's the price?
I still don't think I would voluntarily. I still don't think I would voluntarily just take on beliefs that I think are actually wrong just because I don't care if they're consequential. Like, that's the thing about me is like I actually do need to be convinced. Like, I'm not just gonna be like, oh, I believe, hon, I actually believe you. I actually believe there was a man who flew across the Grand Canyon because whatever, it doesn't affect me. I'm like, I feel like that's just lying to myself. I'm not actually convinced.
Really convinced,
you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like maybe I'd just be lying to myself and my wife. But
if you were to have to go there and see him, right? This kind of thing where you are involved in this finding, yes, your wife won't be enough. Like she said, let's go back, right? I saw the man flying and let's go back.
Sure, absolutely.
You'll be like, okay, tell me more about this man. Give me more evidence than just your word, please. Because I don't want to spend money, time, and energy to
really?
That's more like before.
Oh, no, I could be talked into a road trip on something I was convinced was not the case.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not saying that I would be convinced that the Flying Man did not exist. I have a very hard time achieving new beliefs. So I would have a difficult time believing that it did exist. I also would have a difficult time firmly believing that it didn't. I would remain some kind of agnostic. Now, something where it's a direct violation of my understanding of physics, I'm way over on one side. But you want to go see? Let's go see. Hang on, let me make sure the camera batteries are charged. Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
It is fun. The adventure can be fun. Yeah.
I don't need much of an excuse to take a road trip with family. It's like, oh, you want a road trip with family? Let me know on the way why you thought that was a fun idea.
Let's have a fun road trip.
Oh, but you want to leave tomorrow at such and such. Great, I'm packing.
I understand what you mean. The love of road trips.
Yeah. I would happily invest time and money on spending time with family, for even silly reasons that were absolutely objectively silly.
Let's taste something new, like ice cream with marmalade. You know, like this kind of crazy idea. Let's say, okay, well, it's a crazy idea, but let's go there and pay for this ice cream that I know More likely to. Oh,
Yeah.
we just define a word the sentence way in the right. Okay.
Chase asked the question: can trustworthy people be mistaken? I think is that question for Luke? I guess it could be
for everyone. Yeah,
for everyone. And my answer is absolutely
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Of course it can.
Yeah, I think everybody is mistaken to a degree.
Yeah, we can be the brain in the jar. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah. So of course we are mistaken about the knowledge of what we say, but yeah, they can be mistaken. There is room. The one you trust usually are those who are less likely to be mistaken. That's why you trust them.
Good. So Tish then asks, how is trustworthiness relevant to whether their testimony should influence your belief, or how much weight you would give their testimony? Am I asking?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's I don't understand the question because that's the
If you
trust is
trust
based on the probability of them being correct in what they claim. Like a scientist that claim that this black hole has a mass of that much, you wouldn't ask for the calculus of what is the mass of the black hole. You would say, okay, I trust you. You're a trustworthy source. You're a scientist that is recognized by their peers. And thank you for the information. And I will use it in my calculation of this.
Sure. So in this case, you're defining trustworthiness as validly an expert in the topic.
On the topic,
and known to be honest or whatever. There's several ways people can be wrong. They can be wrong by mistake, by intention, by sloppiness, by negligence, by this, by having been misinformed by somebody trustworthy up the chain. Yeah. Reed asks, is conviction evidence of anything other than conviction? If a trustworthy source is highly convicted that they are correct or they're convinced, I think this is in the convinced sense. Is should that raise your confidence?
What raised my confidence is the trust part, right? Why do I trust this person?
How well do you think your trust is correlated to actual trustworthiness in defined by that scientific qualified expert sense?
I don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
Are you a good judge of qualified experts? Is your trust well correlated with an actual qualification of expert?
Oh, can I be mistaken in who I trust? This kind of question?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I could be mistaken. It is unlikely because I'm still alive today.
Wait. If you were mistaken,
trust was given to the wrong person, I would be dead because of drugs and kind of things like that. You know. You know, because of the people that were around me in my life, I would be dead. Basically overdose and those kind of things. So yeah, I'm a good judge of character, and the trust I give to people on certain subjects are it's a good choice.
I would like to stop digging on this one because I don't want to drive a wedge.
Do we have callers? It's been an hour. We haven't
anybody calling yet, so
nobody has come yet.
You're so interesting. The callers are all going like, "Oh,
yeah." I don't want to interrupt the conversation. That's what's This is fun. We're having fun.
Indeed. So yes, do call in. We would love to hear from others. We do have other claims. Let's see. And I'm sure I could bring some if you want me to. There were two other claims that we were talking about. Claim consciousness exists on a continuum, and Donald Trump is guilty of treason against the United States. I assume both of those were from Nate. Was that correct? I didn't.
Those are. Yep.
Okay. Which of those would you prefer to talk about?
It doesn't matter to me. So if one of them stands out to either of you that you would like to ask questions of me about, it'd be fine. I would love to be SE'd on either of them.
Okay, Luke, would you like to question? And if so, you get to choose. Otherwise, it's up to me, and then I'll choose.
Could you put up the one about consciousness again?
Consciousness exists on a continuum. I think that means that consciousness is a non-binary proposition. It's not on or off. It's a little more, a little more, a little more, a little more.
Right. Or a spectrum, if you like.
There is a zero. Is there a zero?
Could be. A
Could be.
continuum does not mean that there's no
Continuum means
zero.
that there might be a zero.
There could still be a zero and have a continuum, yeah.
But there's probably no fixed maximum. Would that be correct?
Who knows?
Maybe.
Here I am going into the definitions part.
You need to ask.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm doing the definitions part. Whether while we work this out.
Okay, let me try. I think I'm going to, like usually I say it's going to be short, and then I find something interesting in your answers, and it takes longer than I expected. But let me try. This one is in. Hello. All right. Consciousness exists on a continuum.
Okay. Luc, if you want to interview me about that, I'm willing to do that. It sounds fun.
Do that. Oh, nice. I switch places. Who's the most important one? You are my right on the screen. Oh, I'm important.
I'm the interlocutor. What are you talking about?
That's amazing. All right. Right. This claim, consciousness. Oh, that's a big word. Please define consciousness.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Go ahead. Right. I'm done.
Yeah, I think a definition I like is it's something along the lines of consciousness is the experience, like the experience of being, like having experience is similar to consciousness. And there might be more to it than that, but it's something like that is what consciousness is. Like if you aren't experiencing, then you are not conscious. And so to experience is to be conscious.
The dreaming part at night, is it part of consciousness or is it outside consciousness? Okay, it's not, because you are experiencing a dream. Is that
right? Yeah. It can be tricky because we use the term unconscious to mean like when somebody's asleep, but that's unconscious or subconscious is not the same thing as like not conscious. Maybe I don't. Yeah, that could be a point of confusion with that term. Yeah, but I think when we're talking about like kind of in a scientific sense of consciousness, I think any sort of experience constitutes consciousness. Now, are there times when you're asleep that you might not have any sort of consciousness? Maybe.
Wait,
but
if you say maybe, it's not a continuum. If you say maybe, if maybe during when you sleep, you're not. No,
because a continuum could have a zero, like we said earlier.
Oh, at sometimes in your life. Okay, is this something proper to humans, or is something that is for every living thing, or even living things?
Yeah, certainly. I'm comfortable saying that many living things. This is a property of many living things. I've read very little, but I read what was the name of that book? Is it over there? No, it's back there. Yeah. What was the name of that book? I don't know. It was about consciousness. It was really good. It was by Christoph Koch, who is a neuroscientist who actually he worked with Francis Crick. Actually, he was a colleague of his. So he's a neuroscientist who wrote a book. I can't remember the name of the book right now, but it was really good. It was really good. I was convinced by a lot of it, discussing what consciousness is, and so he kind of subscribes to an almost pseudo panpsychism, but not. And I'm not convinced by that necessarily. But I think that for many living things, they are conscious to a degree, and that's kind of where that continuum comes from, right? I would say most humans are very high on that spectrum, that continuum. And other organisms might be lower down on that. Maybe some are actually higher than us, and we just don't know it. That's a possibility, but I think we're pretty high on the continuum as far as we know the continuum. what we know of that spectrum. Quinn is asking, what's an example of a zero on the continuum?
That's a good question, because the way I formulate it, you say we might have a zero in the claim that consciousness is a continuum, right? The idea that you want to convey with the word consciousness. Here, you are ready to claim that there is a zero when we sleep, or there could be a zero when we sleep.
I said that, it might be possible that there are times when you're not conscious while sleeping. Although I think there's always like brain activity, there's always brain waves, so I don't think that it would be zero.
Okay. Close to.
Like I think that often, even if we don't remember like dreams or thoughts that we're having when we're asleep, we're still having them. We're just not recording them in memory.
Correct.
So I would be surprised if sleeping people were going to be at zero, wherever at zero. But I don't want to rule out the possibility. I think it might be possible. I don't know enough about neuroscience. I took like one neuroscience class in college. And I've read very little. I've read like a book about it, so I don't know that much about it. Listen to some podcasts, that kind of thing.
You read more than me.
Yeah. So
one more.
So a zero, I would say one thing that's probably zero would be like, I think the vacuum of space would certainly be a zero, like where you have almost no particles, where all you really have is like, various fields, force, gravitational waves. Maybe I think that is, if not zero, extremely close. So, like I said, I don't subscribe to like panpsychism necessarily, but I think I wish I remembered what the actual name of the theory is. There's let me see if I can look it up. Christoph Cook is his name. What's the name of that book I read? Consciousness book. And I might be able to find the Feeling of Life Itself. That's the name of the book. I recommend that book. I would check it out. The Feeling of Life Itself. I want to see what the actual name of the theory is. Which is kind of like a take on panpsychism, which is like an idea that like everything is kind of conscious, but I don't think he quite goes that far.
Okay.
What is the theory itself called? Oh, geez. Integrated information theory. That's the name of it. Integrated information theory. I'm going to put that up there. So if you want to read about it. Oh, I'm in the wrong thing. So anyway, like I said, I don't really necessarily subscribe to panpsychism. But I think it's interesting, at least, and there might be more scientific backing than I initially thought before I read that book. Because I was like, oh, that seems silly. Rocks aren't conscious. That's dumb. But maybe they're just so low on the consciousness scale that it's like almost the same thing as them being non-conscious. So,
okay. This claim about consciousness and continuum, is it? How did you come up with it? Is it because you read the book, or was it there before, this belief?
No, it was definitely something. The idea that consciousness exists on a spectrum, I definitely had before reading this book. Okay. That was more talking about the book when we were talking about whether zero exists or not, because I think that's more relevant for that. But no, I already had this idea that consciousness exists on a spectrum.
What triggered it?
I think mostly just observation, knowledge of other animals and their behavior. I did take an animal behavior class in college. I don't know that, but I don't think that's the reason why either. I think I intuited this or like built this based on observation from even childhood, that like, it seems, that ants seem to be less conscious than people, for example, and amoebas seem to be less conscious than ants.
Okay.
There's probably an experience of what it's like to be an ant. Like an ant most likely experiences something like what it is to be alive and be an ant, but I would be surprised if it was anywhere near as rich as what it feels like to be a human. So So no, I already had this probably from a very, very long time ago, from a very young age.
Okay. And the continuum, is it for opposing something? Like, is it an idea that consciousness could be something else than a continuum?
That's a good question. Like, if somebody who doesn't believe consciousness is a continuum, what would they think it is? I think maybe they would think it's binary, like either something is conscious or it is not conscious.
Okay.
And those would be the only two options. That might be what somebody who disagreed with this claim would think, but maybe they would think that and still think it's some expressed in a continuum. I don't know. I think this is a pretty personally, I think it's a mundane claim. But it's something I believe and I have pretty high confidence in.
How confident are you that consciousness is a continuum?
Gosh, I mean, probably like 97, 98, like very high.
Really high up there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the question that I ask, and I think I have already the answer, but I want to make sure. How would you measure if you're correct or incorrect?
Well, I know that there have been. Yeah, it's tricky because consciousness is a subjective experience, right? But there have been experiments done with people who have been in or out of like vegetative states, and there are various levels of vegetative states. This is something that was gone into in the book, and basically like people who are in comas, and they've done things where they've basically measured their brain activity, and they're looking for certain signals within like their brain waves and that sort of thing with, EEGs and that sort of thing. And then it is still based on, subjective reporting, but then if they do come out of that state, they ask them questions about, were you experiencing anything? Were you able to hear? Were you aware of the room around you? And so then they try to correlate that self-reporting with, the observations they had of that person's brain state, what information they had about it. So I think that's one way that we can, if not get like extremely accurate measures, at least get like somewhat of an approximation. There's also some other really interesting findings in with like split brain patients, but I don't know that necessarily shows the continuum so much as it just shows that like when you have a split brain, they used to do this. They used to split people's brains down between the hemispheres, severing the corpus callosum to treat like epilepsy, I think it was. But they don't really do it anymore. So there aren't a lot of these people to like continue to test on, and it's like not ethical to cut somebody's brain in half in order to like learn more about consciousness. So, but there's, where they basically are like, hey, we seem to have two different consciousnesses, like almost two experiencing thinking entities within the same skull. And so there's some interesting findings from that, and I don't want to go into the details, but I don't know that necessarily shows the continuum so much as it shows like, I don't know, different properties of conscious things and like how that relates to the brain. So I think like the vegetative state thing is probably more interesting for this.
There you go. I lost focus. Okay,
yeah.
So not focus on the conversation. I was still listening to what you say. What I hear. So what I hear is that it is complicated to know what makes it a continuum or not a continuum or something else.
Right.
To measure, because it is subjective and because we have tests that has been done, and the result of those tests is still subjective. It's not conclusive results that we have from those tests.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think also just like a knowledge of neuroscience. I think like generally we do know things about brains, and I think generally speaking, like the more complex, the more interactions there are, the more synapses there are, the more that the parts of the brain influence each other. It seems that that aligns with how we subjectively maybe like judge consciousness in other creatures. I would say it's these specific experiments, but also just like our overall knowledge of neuroscience, which is small. We still have a lot to learn, but I think those are kind of the main things propping that up, that it exists in a continuum.
Okay. Do you feel your confidence in the claim is, without knowing specifically what would convince you otherwise, do you feel that this confidence of 98% is justified?
I don't know that I don't know what convinced me otherwise. I don't know if we've talked about that.
What would convince you otherwise?
What would convince me otherwise? Yeah, I think that's a good question.
From the answer, from the question, how would you measure it? I understood that there was nothing that would convince you otherwise. But if there is something, please tell me.
Yeah, I mean, if we had, for example, like people come out of comas who had, as far as we could tell, almost like no brain activity at all, and they were able to accurately remember very specific details of things that happened while they were in a coma. That might be interesting. Where like it seems like their brain wasn't doing much of anything.
It would be dead.
But they still were able to hear and recall complex conversations, and they like, if that might, I think that would decrease my confidence.
So you would still have something in the brain, because if there is nothing in the brain, people will say they are dead and they will be put into the ground, and we wouldn't have a testimony.
Right, not necessarily zero activity, but like, very like, like I think that like, like there's like a very weak one particular kind of brain wave, and we're not even seeing these other brain waves happening, and there are delta waves and there are gamma. I don't know. I don't remember all the different kind of alpha waves, beta waves, delta waves in the brain that we're that we can track with. So if there were people who came out of hey,
there's a caller.
Woo.
Continue.
We're listening to the end. We are at the end. So 98% is validated, because there would be, if there is somebody that it's gonna be hard. If there is somebody that wake up and is able to remember what happened in the room while they were in a coma, that would lower your confidence. Like somebody who was like one of those people who looks like they would maybe never even recover at all. Because there are people who are like in like a, I don't know, there are different states of like vegetative or coma states. Some people are like somewhat responsive. Some people are non-responsive. Some people, it like looks like there's no brain activity at all. So if you had one of those like no brain activity at all people come out of a coma and be like, oh yeah, I remember 2 weeks ago, grandma was here and my uncle was here, and they were having a conversation about how, the Lions lost again on Thanksgiving, because they always do, and that score of the game was, the Packers scored 37 and the Lions scored 22, and they just woke up and they remember all this, and we're like, well, heck, well, the Packers did beat the Lions 37-22 on Thanksgiving, and your grandma and your uncle were in here. Like, that would definitely make me think, wow, maybe things are just conscious, and maybe we shouldn't step on ants. But maybe that would just be for humans. I don't know.
Well, I don't step on ants anyway.
Yeah, there you go. As a Janist. Are you a Janist?
No, I'm not a Janist.
Okay.
I just try not to kill anything if I don't have to.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I'm a
it wouldn't
Buddhist
be a
pest
continuum. It would be something else. Consciousness would be, if this were to happen, it wouldn't be a continuum. I don't know. I don't understand how this would not still make this game. Why would this lower your confidence? Why is it not a continuum if this were to happen?
Because why would that lower my confidence? Because that at least seems that if that were true, then it would seem to me that human consciousness is either on or off.
Oh, okay.
And it's more binary, at least more binary, or at least not the kind of continuum that I'm thinking of. So it would at least drop my confidence and make me rethink how I'm thinking about consciousness.
Okay.
Certainly.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Like I said, it would be short, but but it's impossible. It is fun to hear from you, Nate. I like
thanks.
the way you think, and I like this stratification or this order in your mind when I speak to you. So that's why I was glad to hear all of those stories when you talk, and it was like, yes, oh yes, and every time you were saying stuff in my head, I was like, oh yes, oh so yes. I was something like that inside. Joy
I'm glad I could bring you a little joy there, Luke. You're welcome.
Hey James, how you doing?
Hey,
Hello, James. What do you bring?
I bring just me. I
Okay.
just saw you guys were live. I thought I'd pop in and see what's going on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh,
Cool.
you have
So,
a face.
you have any feedback for the questioner? In this case,
I
You
thought
listened
Luke did well.
Mhm.
It was interesting. I only caught the tail end of it. It was great.
Mhm.
That was fun.
Yeah.
It definitely helped me think about it more. Like
Right.
it felt very beneficial to me personally.
Ah,
Did
excellent.
Luke, did you completely understand Nate's claim?
Yes.
Mhm.
I think. Oh, there is something I didn't say that out loud, but I should have. Consciousness is related to memory. This is something I realized in this conversation that I didn't have before, and
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking
memory
about the
is
whole time.
something really important. So a rock wouldn't have consciousness because it doesn't remember what happened before, but the ant does remember some things, like the path to her, or what the smell of this other ants smell like, or this kind of thing. So they have some kind of memory, and yeah, that's how. And space, the vocal, no memory there.
Right.
Yeah, I that is interesting to think about, because it seems like passage of time is so linked with how we experience. Yeah, and if you didn't have any memory, can you experience the passage of time? And if the answer to that is no, then can you really experience it all?
If there's an experience, and then soon after the experience, you quench the recording of memory enough that everything that's in the buffer is just lost. Was that a conscious experience up until that point? And then do we only have the memory of maybe a subset of our conscious experiences?
Yeah, I think so. That sounds reasonable.
Somebody else could say,
experience
yes, you
that
kissed
wasn't
him
tied to memory.
yesterday.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Was it Luke? Are you holding that it's memory is required to have consciousness? Is what you're saying?
It's Nate's view on consciousness. Without memory, there is
Yeah,
no
I don't know.
consciousness.
It seems like you would at least need short-term memory, even if you didn't have long-term memory. Like even like an ant might not have. I don't know.
What if you
No.
only have
That's
long-term
long term.
So if someone has suffered amnesia, are they no longer conscious?
Yes.
Yeah. No, not. Well, it depends on what do you mean by amnesia. I'd say, because a lot of people who have amnesia, they can still remember what's happened since a certain point, but they've lost a chunk of time and they're hitting their.
Yeah.
They would have still been conscious during that time and been recording memories, and then somehow suffered some sort of injury that caused them to lose those memories. But
I'm imagining Drew Barrymore, 50 First Dates.
Yeah.
Right.
Did she lose credit for the consciousness that she had during the prior waking period just because she didn't remember it in the next one?
Yeah, no, she's still conscious.
Now, what about something that only has super long-term memory? All the short-term memory is no good, like the yeast in the beer that James is drinking has been taught to taste just like that by selection, and the memory is just genetic selection, and they don't have memory that is operational within their lifetime.
I wouldn't use the word memory there.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So with consciousness, where do Where would you put experience on the scale as requirement to consciousness?
I think they're almost the same thing. Like,
what's in the definition that you gave me?
yeah, I think that the definition I gave Luke, you might probably miss this because you said you missed the beginning of it.
I missed the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when he asked me what is consciousness, at first I went, "Oh, that's a big question," and then then I said something like, "Consciousness is what it is like to be. It is experience essentially."
Yeah.
It's awareness.
Yeah, maybe.
So like,
yeah, which also awareness is on a continuum, I'd say too. So.
Homeopathy. It works.
Yeah, the homeopathic medicine remembers the one molecule that was in the vat that didn't make it into the bottle.
When you think about
it's all the poo.
When you think about placebo effect, and you see that some studies give up to 40%, that's a lot. Out of 100%, there is 40% that has been taken sugar pills and have been cured.
Okay.
Right? 40% is a lot. When you think about that and you say homeopathy doesn't work, I would say, well, it worked at least 40% of the time.
Sure. It doesn't work any better than placebo.
Placebo.
Right.
But
for all
placebo
intents
to
and
be able to
purposes,
work,
it is a
you
placebo.
need to be convinced it does work. So sorry, but not sorry. I do take homeopathy medicaments because I am convinced it works, and it works. And when I don't take it, I am sick longer. So I say, okay, there is water with sugar in it, and there is not water with no sugar. If I take the water with the sugar, I will be cured faster than if I don't take it. Who's the fool to not take it, right? Even if it's just placebo, let me give you money, and I will be lifted from this disease.
You will gain the placebo effect.
Yes, I will gain because I spend money. I involved myself in the process. Therefore,
Luke, if you know it's the placebo effect, why don't you just buy like Mentos or Tic Tacs? Aren't they cheaper?
I don't know why, but it doesn't.
It doesn't work for his belief process.
Yeah.
Oh.
He can't fool himself that easily. I think this is I think it's a good example of a noble truth. Would you call this a noble truth?
Noble truth. Yeah.
A noble truth. Something that is worth believing in, whether or not it's true because it's useful or makes you better or helps you in some other way.
Yeah.
I would say maybe partially. I think it's a noble truth on Luke's part.
Yeah.
But I don't know how noble it is to like have homeopathic like manufacturers profiting off Luke.
Okay, so you think
I'm sorry that for the price I pay, it's not that high.
Okay.
And the time, you know how the way I think is I have a hourly rate when I work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And each hour I spend is the amount that is paid for me at work. Like that's how valuable my time is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I say I lose one day of being sick, that's a lot of money that I lose, right? It's 24 hours or not 24 hours because I sleep most of the time. You understand what I mean? It's a lot of money that I lose. I have to take a sick day at work or those kind of things. So no, I will pay your placebo effect.
Okay.
If I'm more for placebo, oh no, Anthony. Oh, that's a good question. But no, if I spend even more for placebo, would it work even faster? I don't think so. Okay, so what would happen? In my case, there is this product. I have this kind of price that I've been paying for a long time. So if it were to double tomorrow, the price, I would say, okay, maybe it's not worth it for me to spend that money on that one. Let me try to find another one that does the same thing, because there are always 2 or 3 different products that has the same claim, when it comes to health.
Maybe
So,
we need
I wanna-
to.
Go ahead.
I was going to say we should find a way to repackage Tic Tacs and sell them to Luke at cost,
That's what I was.
so that Luke pays less money. We don't profit off of it. Luke gets the placebo effect, and we stop giving money to the homeopathic medicine.
Industry.
Right, so that's my
there we
question,
go.
Luke. Is it a placebo that is it still packaged in the homeopathic medicine? However, you know it's a placebo. Is that what's going on here?
Even
Like
though I know it might be a possible, it might not be a placebo. There is
He's
but a
holding
possi-
out that it
Yeah.
might be
Okay.
wrong, and
Yeah.
that's gaining him a placebo effect.
So these
Yeah.
homeopathic pills are in the homeopathic packaging, and they could be just sugar pills. And
No, they are just sugar pills.
Yeah.
right, but the fact
They
that
have
they're
a high safety rating for having no active ingredient at a useful dose.
I'm aware. So
Yeah.
the fact that
Very
they're
safe.
labeled homeopathic medicine, even though it's a sugar pill. So if let's say if these new line of homeopathic meds came out and they're actually, even though you don't know it, they're actually Tic Tacs, but like in the homeopathic packaging, would that be the same effect for you?
So somebody sells him a homeopathic remedy that is not nearly so carefully made with the 10 shakes in each direction with the and the proper but
Does
they
it-
just simply take the same
Tic
thing off
Tacs.
the shelf that's a commodity item, they shove in the packaging, printers give you all the unique interesting little
Right.
verbiage thing.
Right.
If that's the case, if you learned that was the case, Luke, would you lose the placebo effect?
I would lose. Though I don't. I would be curious on the effect, right? If
Right.
I was cured as fast this time,
Okay.
that would be really interesting.
I propose
So
a test.
if someone around the world, if you are looking this video,
Yes.
give the text to Luke without telling me it is the text.
What, Luke? What?
We don't have to fool you in this test. We just have to blind you.
Yeah,
What brand of homeopathic medicine do you purchase?
Yeah. I don't think it's a good idea to say it on video. on
That's
YouTube,
that's
right?
fine. We
Yeah,
can
yeah.
we can work any of this out in the backyard. James, what is the test that you are proposing?
I was going to say we do what we just said with the packaging with the label that he
That's
normally
late.
purchases.
I would know.
No, we would know. Luke, what I'm suggesting here is that we would take some of your favorite few, not just one, but you say that this one with this dosing, this one with this one.
Oh.
These are equivalent things, and we also mix a few of those in there that are just commodity candy or whatever. Okay, it doesn't matter. We'd make sure that it was on a list of things that you'd said would be safe and it would be okay from this broad list, right?
Yeah.
And then when you have a need for these things, you are blinded as to which one it is, and we rolled a dice to put them in the package, in the whatever. So you have an instruction which one to take. Boom, you take it, you report your results. You take the next one, you report your results as you need it. Now, this might also help if you got several dozen of your friends to also do the
I
test.
think they've done a study
Give us a
like
bigger
that.
N. And this is a voluntary test. Nobody's being fooled, but you know you're being blinded. So you're not being lied to. You just know you're taking a random thing. And only later, after you report your results, would you be informed which thing was which on which day.
Yeah.
I think we could do this for cheap.
The amount of people involved and the reproducing of the taste and those kind of things, it's really hard. And the fact that I don't have more than one placebo homeopathic.
If you've got one, we can take one other thing and test them and see if yours works better than the next best or the next other remedy that claims to do the same thing. We could test them.
Oh, you mean like you would? I would take something that claims to it's for the flu. So I am cured of the flu. What do I take? Do I take the homeopathic
When you
one
want
or
this kind of medicine, you then go to a thing that tells you which of the things to take, and we've randomized them. You take that one, and then you report the results.
I understand what you mean. Okay, I will have 2 bottles because it's a liquid. So I will have 2 bottles, and sometimes I pick bottle 1, sometimes I pick bottle 2, and then I will give the reports, right?
And the pick was done randomly with dice ahead of time, and you just read if it's on this day, do this one.
But I might have this information that I didn't have before. One of those 2 is fake. Is not the real homeopathic.
It's up to you whether we make it a complete fake or we make it the second best on the market. We go find a competitor on the market that makes the same claims and see if you can tell the difference between the 2 of them.
I see.
You might learn something like, "Ooh, that other one, I think it works better."
Better, yeah.
Because I tried it on myself, and 4 out of 5 times I reported this one working better. Would that improve your confidence in something and get more placebo effect?
I wonder what would happen. It would take too much time because I use them once a year. So
this is where getting more people involved. If you had a dozen friends that were willing to do the test along with you, we have to give them, and then we might have an N of 15 or 20 events before the end of the year to start seeing if we can tell the difference.
There was I heard of a study. I didn't read it, so I don't know if it's true. But what happened was they picked it was for headaches.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's a really subjective pain that we know of.
But you can get pretty immediate feedback in a few hours. If you don't have an answer in a few hours, that's a result.
Yeah. So that's why they picked headaches, and they say this is the homeopathic one, and we are going to test it. Mm-hmm. So just to see how good it is. So they had something questions before. Do you believe in homeopathic tools and those kind of thing? And did this thing work better with those who believe in homeopathic? The answer was yes. Does the placebo one work as well as the homeopathic one? That was a 50-50. No, not 50-50. It was maybe not non-conclusive. That's what it was. So we don't have enough difference between those 2 to say there is a significant amount of. Anyway, it was one test, so it doesn't work. But the sample was too small.
To get any good confidence, you need a high N. In order to shop between products, I don't need a huge confidence that I can tell the difference. If I can tell the difference and I have a preference,
yeah, there you
go. Then that's enough for my buying decisions. I don't need to have wildly high confidence when choosing between safe choices.
I'm thinking of this milk contest. So there is a fake meal movement here. Well, I see on the internet a lot of people trying fake meals, milk. So milk that is made to taste like cow milk, but not made out of cow milk. So blind test. That's what I typed because I think there is one of them that is backed by Tesla guy, the
Elon Musk.
Yeah. One is there is a company that is making milk and he's giving money to them anyway. Not giving, investing money.
Okay.
it's not a gift. So I'm like, if this guy is maybe there is something there. So let me check what the internet says about it. And you can see on the face of the person that it is not milk, right?
Okay.
Yeah. The washer, the one who washes, know which one is which. But when you look at the video, you can see on the face of the person says, "I have doubts," but they know it's not real, right? on their face, and they are like making it longer for entertainment purposes, right? That's why they put a show to make it clear that maybe this product is worth buying, but no, they know it's not real. I'm like, okay, thank you very much for this visual feedback, right? That I had from, but those are really too simple. Anyway, I am curious. I would do the test myself. The fake milk. The one I would prefer doing would be the one about steaks. Like the hamburger test.
Okay. What would be the hamburger test?
This one is interesting. Anyway, James, did you have a claim? He's right there for me.
Yeah.
Is it in the same place for you?
I could give a claim.
Sure.
We have a time, right?
Sure.
Dali?
Yeah, we have time for a quickie, and we can go over.
Yeah,
it's fine.
As long as all four of us don't wave at the same time, it'll be fine.
Oh yeah,
Be careful.
I spoke enough for tonight. We leave the room to you guys.
All right. So
I've got a claim with a hypothesis, and it's something I hold that I think will probably stand. There is no God or gods or anything supernatural.
Okay. There is no God or gods
or anything supernatural. Right.
Okay. I will type that up. Who would like to? Is this one mine? Is this one?
You haven't had one yet. So I
style?
think you have right of first refusal, Dali, because you haven't gone yet. So, but if you don't want it, one of us can take it.
Yeah. So James, I want to try something a little different.
Sure.
I want you to pretend you can't hear them, and they're going to make suggestions. You're going to ignore them. You're going to pretend you can't hear them at all, but they can talk and give me suggestions.
They're going to give you suggestions.
Yeah, right.
Okay, cool.
All the feedback is for me. They're not talking to you. You can't hear them.
Gotcha.
Okay.
With microphone?
I could type in the.
Yeah, he's going to ignore. He's going to pretend.
I'm just going to ignore.
That would be weird. So you want us to type or do you want us to talk?
Go ahead and talk. Go ahead and talk, and
we're all
give me
experienced
suggestions
at
about
this,
what to say, and then I'll turn around and ask him for the things with it. Yeah,
just do this. Go, Dali. Dali, ask him about the like that.
Voices in my head.
Okay.
Well, it's more than just. I mean, I guess we could say no supernatural, because especially if the label for the definition that I've heard mostly for what people believe in a God, this God is something supernatural. Mainly, it's the disembodied mind and everything that this God can do. Yeah.
So, if you're saying that the reason you don't believe that there is a God is because you don't believe that disembodied minds do or can exist.
That's another reason, but the fact that this
reason.
Right.
Tell me the reason again.
I'm sorry?
Tell me the reason again. I misunderstood.
Well, first of all, if this God is to be supernatural, there's nothing that we can test and verify that we would claim to be supernatural, right? We don't have any supernatural experiences. And then plus the other definition, it's a disembodied mind. So as far as we know, a mind does not exist absent material. So no mind, no brain, no mind, right?
So you say that you have no examples of minds without brains.
Right.
And therefore minds without brains are by default not possible.
Right.
Okay. Dali,
I'm wondering which one of these, if it were counteracted, would drop his confidence most.
Okay, yeah. So of these reasons, the first one is, I suppose, the no disembodied minds, and what was the second one?
If something is supernatural, we have no way to verify it, and So my hypothesis is like
Supernatural leaves no proof, and disembodied minds aren't a thing.
right.
Okay, so if what could change your mind that disembodied minds are a thing?
If there was a way to provide a demonstration example of consciousness, intelligence, awareness, everything that encompassing being a mind state without anything it connected to.
Okay, so if we had a full-on legit seance and I was able to get information from ways I didn't have any technological way to receive about something happening remotely, or from information from somebody else's mind, or remote viewing or something of that order, and that were legitimized, would that be evidence of a disembodied mind?
That, well, it's going to, you're involved. So
Sure, I'm
yeah,
communicating to you or to Luke or
right.
to someone, and we know that we've cut off all technological available. So
Okay.
we each put ourselves in a room where everybody's monitoring all the ins and outs.
Okay.
And then you provide one of us information, and the other one gains access to that information. You provide the other information, the other one. So we're managing to communicate over distance, and perhaps even view things that where neither one of us are, that you're
Okay.
controlling.
To me, that's an example of using the mind, the brain, mind connection much outside of what that's telepathy is what that sounds like to me.
Right.
There's still material involved, like whether it's 2 people or 3 or 4 or 100.
Right. What if I reported in that process, it wasn't from my own mind? I was being spoken to by an external mind that had access to this information.
So
I'm reporting an external mind that I recognize as separate from myself.
right.
And it's the same mind that Luke, for some reason, I'm picking on you or on the other side of this one. Luke is also having a relationship with this separate mind from himself. And we are able to communicate information.
Okay.
And that separate mind is able to think and have its own. Is it possible to, just through the testimony of somebody in contact, demonstrate a separate mind?
I would have very little. I would be very skeptical of that experiment based on, because there's still minds involved and brains involved.
Okay.
Even though like one person could be on the other side of the planet, 2 people on different ends of the world, right? And they're sharing the same information. To me, that sounds like being able to send signals.
Right.
Somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're going to go David Hume on my example and say it's unknown technology and is not demonstration of an independent mind. Cool.
That's how I see it.
Let me go to the other side and say, if there was something supernatural, we couldn't detect it.
Mm-hmm.
Was the other side?
Right. Well, it's like there's something doing something.
Mm-hmm.
We're not sure how this result happens, so we're calling it supernatural. So,
okay. So we see an effect and we attribute it as supernatural.
Right.
Is there any evidence for a given effect that you would be able to see that to validate that attribution, to say, yes, this is a supernatural effect?
I don't see any. No.
If I did a 1 Kings 18, light this thing on fire. Like Elijah, light the bulls on fire on the altar that's been doused with water. Would that be indicative of supernatural?
That's something extraordinary.
Yes, it's extraordinary. Mm-hmm. Would it be evidence of a miracle?
If we cannot find anything else that caused that to happen. if we can, so the fact that it's happening in our natural realm.
So we could do a defeater by they swap the water with other chemicals that do burn.
Right. The thing that leaves a big, like the fact that it's happening right in front of us naturally, it's a natural occurring event. However, what's happening is extraordinary. It's something unique. And the fact that it's happening right in our natural realm, and we're able to test it, and it comports with us.
Sure.
We can verify. Now, in that process, we can't give an explanation. Then I guess that would be something that happened in our natural realm that we can call supernatural.
Okay. I'm going to go all the way Pine Creek.
Okay.
If you witnessed a resurrection, so I want you to imagine a friend of yours, somebody known to you really well that died more than a year ago.
Yeah.
If they were resurrected and they came to you and proved to you that they were who they were, would that raise your confidence that there could be supernatural?
Yes.
Okay. So we do have something that would move you on that side. Good.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Good.
So if this person was dead for, I'll even say 3 days, dead and buried in the coffin.
Okay. And
I'm
going to raise the bar here because medical science is getting badass.
Yeah. However,
I think we got it to 90 minutes under the best of conditions, the really cold water.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I'm talking like this person's been like, they had the funeral, whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And they didn't get cremated. They got put in a coffin, and somehow they were able to.
Yeah. If they were cremated, would that be a bigger miracle?
Oh yeah, that would be even way bigger. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So you've identified something that would decrease your confidence that there is no supernatural. So if something like this happened, then that would maybe decrease your confidence in that, and that would that then decrease your confidence in the claim that no gods exist? Just wondering if if that's the relationship there.
Well, we would have to find a way to tie that event to a superpower, a higher power.
Okay.
So
so establishing supernatural wouldn't necessarily establish a god exists. Okay.
Right. This could be just a new, possibly a new evolution of human beings that was able to, spontaneously regenerate. Right. So that's what I'm saying. The fact that it happened in our natural realm and we can test and verify it, it would be supernatural only if we could not just find out how this happened. There's no possible reasonable explanation. Been to the ringer, whole 9 yards. They can't find any reasonable, rational explanation how this person came back to life. So, like, if they do some biological tests and blood tests and whole 9 yards, and they find, there's a new gene. This human has a new gene, and this gene is a replicating gene. So it takes dead cells, and this gene stays alive and is able to regenerate these dead cells to bring this person back to life. Kind of like a lizard growing a tail back,
Okay. So it sounds to me like if we establish the supernatural, that really wouldn't at least necessarily affect your confidence that there are no gods, but it would maybe be necessary. Would it be necessary to establish that the supernatural exists for you to believe that a god exists?
Yeah. Okay, sure. Yeah. That would lead me to believe the possibility of a god existing.
Okay.
And especially
it would become something in the realm of possibility at that point.
Right. Especially if that event was related to a god. Like if this person regenerated and said that God, I was in a relationship with God, and God gave me this gene to pass on. And this is the new, I guess, the new Messiah, the new Jesus, I guess, whatever.
Cool. So I thank you. That's good. Good question, Nate. Assigning the one of the reasons ends up stuck on the other one. There's a hierarchy to those reasons, and one of them is held in place by the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they're both real reasons in terms of the real reason check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then similarly, I guess if somehow you kind of mentioned some ways, like if somehow we establish that minds could exist independent of material, how would that affect? Would that decrease your confidence that God does not? There are no gods.
Yes, if we can somehow demonstrate that it is possible for a mind to be disembodied, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so both of those do seem like they are, yeah, real reasons, as Dali was saying. So.
Yep, cool. Thank you for this conversation. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you. And Luke, did we shut you out on any of that?
No, I have this conversation with him earlier.
Yeah.
And,
oh yeah.
The main thing I remember was supernatural and God being supernatural, and that was for me, that's where I understood his point. Everything that is measurable is natural. Everything that we cannot measure is supernatural. So as long as you can measure it, it will have an effect on reality. It will become natural and known, but unknown. We don't know why, but it is natural. It is happening. We do measure it, but we don't know why it happens. Today, I had different. I heard something different from him, where supernatural would be, if we don't know why, then it is supernatural. Last time we talked about, it wasn't the case. So that was something new.
Yeah, because I can think of lots of things that I don't know why they happen, but I wouldn't call them supernatural necessarily. Like we don't know why the universe seems to be expanding at an accelerating rate. We have hypotheses.
And we have observation of it.
Yeah. So it's something we know is happening. So it seems to be happening in the natural realm, but we don't have an explanation. But I wouldn't default to say, it's supernatural. Then I would just say, we don't know why it's happening. Right?
Yet. We will know.
Maybe we never will.
We never will.
We might not never find out.
In the Catholic Church, we will know when we die.
Oh, of course.
All your questions will be answered.
At death, though.
Yes. After,
And suddenly, a wild heart appeared.
Hello, that's a new person. Hello. Wild heart.
Welcome
again. What do you mean by again?
He's the second coming of Wildheart. You tell us.
No, I'm very atheist. Yeah, I don't know how much use I will be. I don't have really. I agree with you very muchly. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Do you have a claim you'd like to bring? Would you like us to talk of a subject?
I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in spirits. I'm very much on your side. Do you know what I mean?
Well, we can talk about
Luke's side.
Yeah, we can talk about lots of different things. It doesn't just have to be supernatural claims. I talked about consciousness earlier. It could be. We could talk about any sort of thing you think is true.
You're our last caller, so you get to close us out.
All right.
Whatever you'd like to bring.
Right. Consciousness. I think we have consciousness. Yeah. I think consciousness is an emergent property of the brain. I think you need a physical brain to.
Okay.
Yeah. To have consciousness. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So consciousness, you believe consciousness to be emergent property of the physical brain.
Yeah.
And you believe we have it. You have evidence to think that consciousness is a thing that you possess or a quality you
Yeah.
have or an experience that you do, whether it's a verb or a noun.
Yeah.
Cool. Do
Yeah.
you have an opinion as to what else has consciousness?
I don't think anything. I don't think you can have consciousness. Oh, we have no evidence of consciousness without a physical brain.
Right.
We don't have any evidence of that, do we?
Are my pets conscious?
Yes, but they have a physical brain.
Yes. Not so much looking at separating it from physical brain, just looking at definition of consciousness. How far does consciousness go?
Yeah.
Is there a cutoff line in your mind or in your perception on critters that do or don't qualify as having consciousness by your definition?
No. I think animals do have consciousness.
Okay.
It won't be as high as ours. You know what I mean? But they do have. I would say they do have consciousness. Yeah.
So let's say we have a worm. This is a hypothetical worm, and the worm doesn't have a brain, but has nervous tissue. They have neurons that fire and communicate with each other. Maybe they have a really, really basic nervous system. Would they be conscious, you think?
Yeah.
Okay. And would their consciousness be different from ours in any sort of meaningful way?
Yeah.
How so?
It will be a lot lower. We can think about things on a higher level.
Like the continuum I was talking about earlier. I don't know if you saw that or not, but
no, I've just started watching. So
okay.
Yeah, I've not seen anything, but yeah.
Okay.
They'll be at a much lower level. Like worms would have a much lower consciousness than like humans.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Luke asked me this question earlier. Oh, he's got a scale. Got a ruler. I think Luke asked me this earlier. What would be an example of something that is not conscious?
A rock. A rock will not be conscious.
And is that because it doesn't have any sort of nervous tissue, neurons, none of that we associate with brains and thought?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is a plant conscious? A rose? Or a cucumber?
Are plants conscious? Is
oh, that's a good question. Yeah.
A tree, grass?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's okay to say you don't know.
I don't know.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, what could be what can a plant show you that might lead you to think that they have some consciousness?
They grow towards the sun. Would that count as consciousness? Is there a will to grow, or is that just physical? Do you know what I mean?
Right. The fact you brought that up, so they gravitate, they lean, they focus, they twist towards the sunlight, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Do you think that's a sign of consciousness or just a sign of the genetic properties of that plant to
autonomic response? I think is the difference. One that is just a learned response without an understanding, and I think the edge case would be like a fly trap that detects the bug and closes over it and then digests it and everything else. That seems to be pretty close to good robot intelligence.
Yeah. The fly trap doesn't know what it's eating. It's just responding to the stimulus of something landing in it, right?
Yeah.
But stimulus response seems to be the edge of the definition of or a detection of consciousness.
Yeah.
It's actually one level, even in the medical field. It's A&O times one. The patient has suffered a head injury, and currently right now they are just responding to noxious stimuli. So that's A&O times one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the lowest level of response
Consciousness.
function. Okay.
Right.
Well, that's cool that they have a calibrated stick. That'd be. I like rulers, even if they're sloppy and messy.
Oh yeah.
But operational definitions, I'm in for. Even if they're not necessarily my favorite choices, they're at least repeatable.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wildheart, for bringing that. We're about 15 minutes over. Do you have anything else you'd like to add? Any last words you'd like to bring?
No, I've just watched your show a lot. I think you are brilliant. You are very intelligent. I like watching your shows, and
Thank
I just want to join it. Yeah,
Thank you.
but I don't.
We'll get you everywhere.
Yeah. Cheers.
Okay. All right then. I guess it's time to wave. If all 5 of us wave, the AI will end the broadcast.
All right. Thanks, everybody.